to fool by accidentally unraveling a marriage in LA over fireworks and a random comment. Alright, buckle up, because this is going to be a wild ride. I've been sitting on this for a while, and it's honestly too crazy not to share. I've ruined a marriage, and I didn't even mean to. The whole thing started with fireworks and a random guy on Facebook calling me a fat pig. But what came next? Total chaos. I didn't even know I was setting the stage for the most dramatic situation I'd ever find myself in. So, I'm 42F, living in the heart of Los Angeles. For context, I'm the kind of person who enjoys a peaceful life, loves my dogs, and tries to avoid getting tangled up in the mess that is the drama of this city. But I should have known better, because when you live in LA, the drama always finds you, even if you're trying to live a calm life. I don't seek out drama. I like my peace, my morning coffee, and my evening walks. But that night, everything changed. What seemed like an innocent rant turned into a whirlwind that would knock my life off balance. Let's rewind to the night this all began. It was a Thursday morning, about 1 a.m. I had been struggling with insomnia for days, maybe even weeks, and I was finally about to fall into a deep sleep after tossing and turning for hours. It was my chance for a solid night's rest. But just as I was about to drift off, the first boom hit. Then another. And another. Fireworks. In the middle of my damn neighborhood. I could feel the floor vibrate beneath me, the windows rattling with each explosion. And these weren't just the kind of fireworks you hear on the 4th of July. No, these were the loud, obnoxious fireworks that sound like bombs. The kind that rattle your whole house and make you question your sanity. Who in their right mind sets off fireworks at 1 a.m. on a Thursday night? I was beyond frustrated. My dogs, who had already been anxious because of my lack of sleep, started barking frantically. They ran from room to room, tails between their legs, looking at me like I was supposed to do something about this. I tried everything. I tried calming them down, talking to them gently, putting on music to drown out the noise, but nothing worked. The fireworks continued, and the dogs were only getting more agitated. My mind was spinning. I had a meeting at 8 a.m., 2 hours away, and I knew that if I didn't get some sleep, I was going to be useless. But it seemed like there was no escaping the noise. The frustration was boiling over. I just wanted some peace, just a little bit of quiet. So, naturally, in my sleep-deprived frustration, I did what any modern person would do. I took to Facebook. I know, maybe not the best choice. But in that moment, I was just looking for a way to vent. I wasn't thinking about any consequences. I wasn't thinking about how something so trivial could snowball into a life-altering drama. I just wanted to put it out there that I was pissed off. I posted a message in my neighborhood's Facebook group about how inconsiderate it was to set off fireworks so late at night, especially in the middle of the week. I didn't think it would turn into anything more than just a venting session. I figured someone else in the neighborhood would agree with me, and maybe I'd even get a few sympathetic responses. I didn't think it would escalate beyond that. But oh, was I wrong? Fast forward a few hours. I'm sitting at a coffee shop, trying to wake myself up with a latte and the hope that caffeine would work its magic. I scrolled through my notifications, expecting the usual replies from neighbors or maybe a funny meme someone had posted. But no. One comment caught my eye. A guy, someone I didn't know and had never interacted with before, had commented on my post. His message was simple but cruel. Bet you can't sleep because you're a fat pig. Now, listen, I'm not someone who gets upset easily. I'm not immune to the occasional insult, and I've definitely heard worse. But this hit me in a different way. I've struggled with my weight for years, and while I've been much healthier recently, it still stung to hear someone call me a fat pig in such a dismissive way. Sure, I'm a little chubby, but I'm not out of control. In fact, I'd recently lost around 50 pounds, and I felt damn good about it. This guy didn't even know me, and yet he felt comfortable throwing out that kind of insult. I'm not gonna lie, I was pissed. I wasn't just mad at him, I was mad at myself for letting his words affect me. But there was no way I was going to let some random troll on the internet get away with it. So, in a fit of frustration, I did something I've never done before. I engaged. I didn't just ignore the comment or report it. Instead, I wrote a response. And not just any response, but one that was, shall we say, dramatic. I went off on this guy in the most passive-aggressive way possible. I wrote something along the lines of, "Listen, guy's name, I'm sorry, but we have to end things. I just didn't feel the same way. What you're saying now is hurtful and honestly, pretty pathetic. I've told you a dozen times, we're done. It's over." In the moment, I felt like I had won. I was smirking to myself, thinking, gotcha. I thought I was being clever, turning the tables on this guy who had insulted me. I thought, who's the fat pig now? It was a petty victory, but it felt good. I mean, who wouldn't want to get the last word in when someone is being rude, right? But little did I know, I had just set off a chain of events that would lead to something way beyond my control. The next day, I had to catch an early flight for a vacation. I was heading on a cruise, and honestly, I wasn't about to pay $25 a day for Wi-Fi when I could just enjoy my vacation. I didn't check my Facebook during the entire trip. I didn't think about it at all. I was blissfully off the grid, spending my time exploring new places, meeting new people, and enjoying the calm of being away from the chaos of everyday life. I figured, by the time I came back, everything would be back to normal. But I was wrong. When I signed into Facebook that Monday night, after a few days of being disconnected, I found myself in the middle of a full-blown nightmare. My inbox was flooded. There were messages from the guy, his wife, and even some of his friends. It was bad. I mean, real bad. His wife had seen my comment. She wasn't laughing. She wasn't amused. She was frantic, sending me message after message, asking if I'd been having an affair with her husband. She was demanding answers, pleading with me to tell her the truth. My stomach dropped. I was so confused. I hadn't even met this guy. How had I gotten dragged into this? I felt like I was being attacked by a woman who had every right to be angry, but who also had completely misunderstood the situation. The more I read her messages, the more I realized I was in way deeper than I ever wanted to be. And then, the guy himself started messaging me. He called me every name in the book, threatening me and accusing me of ruining his life. I was still trying to wrap my mind around what was happening. I never even met this guy, and yet here I was, caught up in a situation that was way too personal for comfort. The worst message I got from him was, "You're a total cunt. You've destroyed my life, you bitch." At first, I didn't know how to respond. I had no idea what he was talking about. I wasn't involved with him in any way. But the more I thought about it, the more I started to understand. This guy, it turns out, wasn't just some random jerk. He was a serial cheater. And the moment I had broken up with him in that post, it triggered a massive backlash. Another woman, his affair partner, saw my comment and spilled her own tea. She, too, had been involved with him. And she wasn't about to let him get away with it either. This wasn't just a simple case of a husband caught in a lie, it was a full-blown scandal. This guy had been juggling multiple women for years, and they all started to converge on him. What had seemed like a simple, dramatic post from me had exposed his lies and forced his entire world to crumble. The wife? She had no idea, but now everything was out in the open. The other woman? Also out. And both of them were furious, taking to social media to expose him. It was like I had unknowingly opened a Pandora's box, and the drama that followed was beyond anything I could have imagined. But here's the kicker, the wife? She was done. She found out about multiple affairs. Affairs that had been going on for years. Not only had this guy been unfaithful, but he had humiliated her with his lack of discretion, letting his affairs become so public. She couldn't take it anymore. The humiliation was too much to bear. The fact that everything had unfolded so publicly, in a neighborhood group of all places, was the final straw. Not only had he been cheating on her for years, but now his infidelity was laid bare for everyone to see, including the other woman and his friends. It was no longer just a private betrayal, it was a public spectacle. The affair partners had exposed him, and now his wife, unable to bear the weight of the lies anymore, was left with no other option but to leave him. I had no idea how far this would go. I mean, I was still reeling from the initial shock of being caught up in a marriage breakdown. I had to try and clear things up, right? So, I reached out to both him and his wife. I immediately sent a message explaining that I wasn't involved with him. I had never even met the guy. I sent pictures of myself on vacation, timestamped and all, to prove I had been nowhere near him. I even attached vacation selfies and photos of the places I had been on the cruise, hoping it would put some sort of closure to this mess. But the damage had already been done. The wife was devastated. I could feel the pain and anger in her messages. She didn't care about the timeline anymore, it was too late. The emotional toll was already there, and my innocent post had only amplified it. At this point, I realized how much of a mess I had made. I hadn't meant to destroy her marriage, I just wanted to get back at some random guy on the internet. But in doing so, I had become an unexpected catalyst in a much larger, much more painful drama than I could have imagined. It didn't stop there. The guy, now furious and feeling cornered, began sending me even more hateful messages, blaming me for everything. The worst part was that I couldn't even explain to him that none of this was my fault. Sure, I had made the comment, but the truth of his life, his years of lies, cheating, and emotional manipulation, wasn't something I had orchestrated. Still, he couldn't see that. His rage was out of control. He couldn't accept that it was his own actions, not mine, that had caused this spiral. His life was falling apart, and I was somehow the scapegoat for everything. And then came the other affair partner. She was furious too. She started messaging me, calling me every name under the sun. She was jealous, obviously, but also felt completely betrayed by him. The drama between the three of us was starting to feel like a soap opera, with each of us playing a part in exposing this man's web of lies. Every new message was another nail in his coffin. Both women were now fully aware of the others, and the public nature of it all seemed to make everything so much worse. By the time all the messages had settled, the wife had already made her decision. She was divorcing him. And honestly, I don't blame her. She was done. He had humiliated her too much, and after everything that had been exposed, she had no reason to stay. The affair partner? She was now fully aware that she wasn't the only one. She wasn't about to take him back either. He was no longer this charming, perfect man she had thought he was. He was a liar, a cheat, and a narcissist. I had unintentionally caused a massive fallout in this guy's life, and the more I thought about it, the worse it felt. I never imagined that one small act of petty revenge, one comment on Facebook, would set off such a chain reaction. All I wanted was a moment of petty satisfaction, to show some random guy who called me a fat pig that I wasn't going to take his insult lying down. Instead, I had become the unwitting cause of someone's divorce and the unraveling of a man's entire life. The worst part? I could never take it back. I had sent those messages, and they had been seen. I had kicked off a series of events that no one could undo. I knew this marriage was over, no matter what I said or did. I didn't want to be a part of this drama, but I had to live with the consequences of my actions. So, here I am, sharing my story with all of you, hoping that I can at least get some perspective on what just happened. I've learned a valuable lesson about social media and how easy it is to get swept up in the moment and do something that can spiral out of control. If I could go back and undo that post, I would. But what's done is done. The fireworks were the spark, but my comment was the match that lit everything up. TLDR, I responded to a jerk on Facebook who called me a fat pig, pretending to be his ex in a dramatic breakup post. Turns out, he was a serial cheater, and my comment set off a chain reaction that led to his wife divorcing him, his affair partner exposing him, and his entire life falling apart. All I wanted was to get back at a troll, and instead, I destroyed a marriage.